Our next election could be vulnerable to hackers. You see, the FBI is investigating cyber attacks on election data in Arizona and Illinois. The apparent breaches happened in June, and investigators say foreign hackers may be responsible for this.
The FBI is warning election officials to increase security. CNET editor Dan Ackerman is here with us on set to talk about this threat. Okay, Dan, we know that they could get the personal information of voters, but do we have any sense that they could actually change the vote?
That's really the next step. Once you show that these local, election IT systems are vulnerable, you can get in, you can look at the information, you can download a copy of it. Well, then you go, what else can they do? Can they go in and maybe change somebody's voter registration information? Can they take you off? When you go to the polls later and you try to vote and you're not on the list, you go, oh, did I forget to re-register at my new address? Is it an honest mistake? Did something happen? Or did somebody go and take my name off? And you become unsure of the entire process.
Now, we already have one presidential candidate, Donald Trump, saying the election is rigged right now. If he loses in November, possibly he could repeat that same charge. So even if these systems, well, they've been exposed to be vulnerable, even if it's not been proved to change the results, should these systems themselves in Arizona and Illinois be replaced?
Well, it's not even there. It's the ones in every state. We run elections on a local, on a state level here in the U.S., so every area has their own IT department, their own hardware, their own software, often purchased from the lowest bidder, their own security practices, which they may or may not follow, perfectly. When you think about things on the national level, that's frankly not that much better. There are tons of national level hacks also, but when you have 50 different things, you have 50 different points of vulnerability in the system.
But then what would be your recommendation to boost everyone's confidence that these systems are safe enough to use and rely on come election day?
I mean, the number one step is to follow just basic best practices for any IT system, whether it's a board of elections or anything else, and that's regular patching and updating and making sure everyone is trained to protect their personal login credentials. That's probably the biggest, weakest point. You could have hundreds of people with login credentials for any system, and one of them gets a phishing email, a fake email from their bank, and they click on it, then they're compromised, and that gives you entry to the entire system.
Do you suspect that didn't happen then in this case?
That very well could have happened in this case, because I think in one of the states they found one administrator's username and password posted somewhere, and that's clearly a vulnerability point.
Yeah.